Hello, everyone. As Simon said, I am Ruchi and I'm from Netflix. I do full stack development over here, and I have over 11, 12 years of experience now working as a full stack developer. If you guys don't know and you watched the previous presentation, Damodaran is an ex colleague of mine. I used to work at eBay prior to Apple, which is before Netflix. So I was at ePay for some time, and I did work with Damodar on some of the projects. And yeah, he's a great software engineer. So I definitely recommend watching any session that Damodar takes in future because he's very technical. But opposite to that, I'm going to talk about software building at Netflix, and this is not going to be a very technical talk. So I'm going to spare people from sleeping and enjoy some comfortable non-tech talk over here. This is more process oriented and how Netflix basically builds software so that they're able to delight their customers with the kind of experience you see today. um, so the topic of my talk today would be how Netflix builds software to streamline organizational operations. It's a long topic, so I'm going to break it down into what I mean by build software to streamline organizational operations, and we'll see like how Netflix is actually able to, delight their customers, like I said in the previous topic. So before we delve into our presentation, I want to lay a little thought out here. When we think about Netflix and Netflix's success, what do we think about? We immediately start thinking about Netflix as the streaming business or the streaming product that everyone in the world uses, right? The brilliant catalog of content, of movies and series that anyone can watch at the comfort of their homes anywhere in the world. But we barely think about Netflix as the corporation or the company, how they function, or, with an employee strength of over 12,000 people, how are they able to perform at such a productive level that, they're able to acquire this kind of monopoly over the world with the kind of services they provide? So, in today's talk, I am going to specifically throw some light on Netflix as a corporation, how our processes and workflows have improved over time, through which we are able to deliver the exceptional services to our customers outside and acquire the monopoly that Netflix has in the world today. So, let's start by breaking down my long topic that I said before, which is how Netflix builds software to streamline organizational operation. Oh my god, that's a mouthful myself. So let's start by talking about productization. Productization basically refers to the process where you take a specific service or the way a company operates and convert that into a viable product or a software and application. And what do I mean by organizational processes? So, organizational processes is nothing but the series of activities that any organization within a company performs to achieve a certain goal. Those goals could be, improving the recruitment or IT operations, employee management. All company has these organizations within them. Specific to Netflix, we have things like aviation support because we fly our talent, actors, and cast and crew all the time from one place to another. We have studio and production support, press and publicity, and a whole host of other things. So the most common thing over here is that every company has organizations within to operate, to functionally operate in a way that aligns with the goal of the company entirely, right? So we have different organization, recruiting, aviation, blah blah blah. Now, how does productization apply to these organizational processes? Every organization performs certain series of activities, like I said, but after a while, with the manual work that every organization performs, it gets very error prone. So essentially, when we apply productization to those processes, which means we take those organizational processes and convert them into viable products, which are more autonomous and helps the company achieve that kind of standardization across. So you're taking all of these processes, automating them, and creating products out of those. But why am I talking about productization and organizational processes over here. We're just talking about software development, right? And how a company is able to perform at a level where they're able to delight customers, like I said before. So let's connect the dots in the later slides, but let's see what are the key takeaways of my talk today. So we talked about productization in the previous slide, how you can build software so that internal tooling, why it becomes so crucial to any company. How can proper tooling impact a company? How can you leverage this knowledge within your own organization or company, and get inspired by some of the examples that I will share. So, all in all, the major key takeaway from my talk today would be why building internal products within a company is so important to a company's success. That is the tagline. So, we'll keep that in mind and let's dive into it. So, let's talk about lack of internal tooling at a company. What do I mean by lack of internal tooling? Lack of internal tooling can be extremely detrimental to any company, especially a company that is growing. Uh, it can lead to inefficiencies in productivity, so loss in productive hours by employees because employees are constantly struggling with mundane, manual, repetitive work, inconsistent workflows. So, workflows that are error prone because human interventions lead to errors and it is unavoidable, which incurs higher cost because now employees are not focused on the main agenda or objective of the company, but constantly struggling to improve those workflows or dealing with error prone workflows day in and day out. Limited scalability because there is only so much that you can scale with manual work, right? Dependency on key individuals because if processes are not automated, you are constantly chasing after key individuals who can unblock you in your day-to-day work, and so that you can go back and do the stuff that you have been doing. And all in all, it leads to employee frustration and burnout because now employees are constantly dealing with these inefficiencies instead of working on meaningful work or the main objectives and goals of the company fully. They are spending a big chunk of their time just dealing with these inefficiencies and loss in their productivity. And cumulatively, what happens is because of that, it leads to company losing competitive advantage over other companies because now your company is just dealing with internal workflows that are not efficient and not working on things that actually drive your financial numbers and help you gain customers outside. So that is why external tooling is extremely detrimental to a company's success if there are lack in proper automation within your organizations. Now let's talk about Netflix prior to internal productization. So this is the time when Netflix's main goal was to focus on their streaming business or the streaming product that everyone uses in the world today. At that time, Netflix's employee strength was barely thousands of employees, a few thousand essentially, and internal tooling was not top of our mind because company was able to operate at a good level with just those few thousands employees. But as the company grew in complexity and the complexity of their workflows also grew with that, because you're adding up employees every year. The scale of Netflix grew from 5,000 to over 12,000 employees in like barely 5 years, and all tools that teams would build for their small use cases could not scale up. Of course, there was it's not like there were no tools at all, but a company or like teams would build smaller tools to their immediate needs. Those tools cannot scale up because now you have so many employees, and you cannot use those tools to standardize workflows across. So thousands of employee hours were now getting wasted because of manual work, which is repetitive, and it's not just repetitive, but manual work also leads to errors, and then you're now going and fixing errors. So a lot of time for of employees are getting wasted in those. So the need for automation became inevitable, of course, because manual work leads to loss in hours and loss in introduction of errors. So the need for efficiency in workflows grew with that, and that led to the formation of my team, which is the internal tools engineering team. Our main goal was to own the internal tooling space of Netflix and build tools for other employees, tools that would help in removing those manual interventions and errors, but also tools that give back those productive hours to employees that they can use in bringing work excellence and innovation to the company, which is more important. Uh, and Which is more important, like I said. But when you think about internal tools engineering team, uh, the major factor is that we don't impact our financial numbers directly. We cannot show the direct impact of our work on our return on investment. And why is that so? Because internal tooling is not working towards the external customers for a company, right? Internal tools are not serving up external customers like our viewers who use Netflix day to day. But internal tools are mostly catered towards the internal employees or our colleagues and peers who use these tools in their daily work. So, how do you show that direct ROI on our financial numbers? That is not possible. So, how do we show our success on papers? How do we show our impact to the company, that we are helping the company in certain way? So, one key metric that we use to measure the success of our team is through the number of hours we are saving per employee. So the number of hours that each employee is now saving because they are not dealing with those inefficient workflows or not having to waste those hours in doing manual work, but a tool is helping them achieve that, right? So they're becoming more and more productive because of that. And since they are becoming more and more productive because of that, they're using those hours into doing work that is more important and aligned with the company's goals. And that is how we show that these hours that we are saving up per employee account for this much of financial value. And that is the major key metric that any internal tools team use within any company. And some statistics to show that is, some examples that I can show that we have used within Netflix itself is, a project like universal search. Universal search is basically one project that you can think about Google search, but only within the scale of the company. Before the existence of this tool, 18% of employee time per employee, which is roughly around 416 hours per year, was wasted in searching for information within the company. This information could be anything, for example, contacts of other employees, or company policies, or legal compliance related information like code. For example, if you're writing a code, you want to see like how other teams have implemented using the same library or something like that. There could be n number of things, cultural related things, benefits, related stuff that the company offers, or even numbers for managers when the compensation cycle comes every year for employees to bump up their salaries. Just research tools, for example. So things like those, so much of time per employee was wasted in just looking for information, which cumulatively comes down to 416 million hours across the entire global workforce at Netflix. With an introduction of universal search tool, we are able to save those many hours per employees, and it accounts for hundreds and millions of dollars in annual savings. And you can think about the range in like 500 to 600 million dollars over here, just because of introduction of this one tool. Travel and aviation, Netflix is very heavy into flying their cast and crew and talent, actresses across different locations. So a lot of time gets wasted into just coordination and management. So automating some of those management and coordination processes can save up to, again, millions of dollars. to the company. Then again, third example I have over here is employee support. 150K support tickets get created every year. What are these support tickets? These are just support tickets that are created by employees and served up by other IT and operations people who are also our colleagues, right? So you can think about support tickets, for example, how do I provision a new laptop? How do I connect to VPN? Things like those. These are again like thousands of tickets are very similar to each other, but the IT support employees have to manually take those questions and serve up the other employees. So there was a lot of opportunity over here to also create automation by just understanding what are those similar queries, and then how can we improve the workflows through which the a human doesn't have to take up those tickets. So again, 150K support ticket translates to again millions and millions of dollars for Netflix. Some of the other internal tools, apart from these financial numbers, are bots to streamline support and help channels. So you can think about those 150K support tickets that I talked about. If we introduce bots to take up some of those questions which are repetitive and similar in nature, we can save up so many thousands and thousands of hours per employee. Universal search solution, the search solution that I just talked about. Again, we did not realize the importance of this, but a lot of time per employee gets wasted into searching for information. Employee feedback tool, again, this is very specific to Netflix because Netflix is a very pro heavy feedback giving culture. We believe that giving feedback to each other improve employee performance and build up strong relationships. So this may not seem like it is directly impacting our workflows, but it is in a way because it helps improving the performance of each employee. Then we have talent management tools, for example, recruiting. In recruiting, you have job applications, so job application tracking systems. When the hiring process starts, manual management of those processes are very error prone and also very inefficient essentially. So automating that workflow, salary data collection and research tools, we call it top of market because Netflix believes that they pay their employees top of market, and this tool helps managers every year reviewing the compensation per employee and bumping up their packages. Travel management and air shuttle tools, like I talked about, flying cast and crew in multiple locations, it just helps with coordination and management costs. Employee help and IT support documentation tools. So essentially, me finding out how can I self-serve certain questions without having to go and create a support ticket for other, IT support people. So having a proper documentation tool where I can self-serve my question is extremely helpful. Procurement and supply tools, for example, when this work from home culture started, a lot of people requested for office supplies to set up a home office. So procurement and supply tools like those became very essential, and it just cuts down so much of management cost over there. And a ton of other developer tools for engineers, even because we are also employees, right? So tools that could tremendously help with our developer productivity is also very detrimental. So for example, we have tools like Newt, that's just one command line tool that creates end-to-end pipeline, creates a sample project scaffolding locally on your computer, and spins up infrastructure on an AWS cloud automatically for you. So you don't have to go and deal with all of those workflows. It's just one command that does all in all for you. All you have to do is focus on writing code. Spinnaker is our deployment management tool. So, it is an open source tool available to other companies as well. Consolidated logging and analytics tools, and a whole host of other tools that helps with developer productivity as well. So now let's talk about internal to development process at Netflix. Uh, and again, this is very true with other companies as well, not just Netflix, because internal tool teams deal with a lot of short timelines and extreme pressure from stakeholders, because you work with stakeholders who are internal to the company, who are your colleagues and peers essentially, that you work day to day with, and you're essentially building tools for them. So your SLAs are extremely short. There's a lot of pressure in delivering the project very fast and quick, so that company doesn't have to deal with those inefficiencies, more number of hours and days. uh, our development teams are very lean. You can think about one or two engineers working on one project at a time, and we're working on like 20-30 projects within one team. So our teams are very lean. We have 7 to 10 engineers, but each engineer is working on multiple different projects. It may be just one project that you are actively developing or writing code for, but there are multiple projects that you're supporting and helping out with. Again, direct interaction with stakeholders, because these are internal employees, and your colleagues and peers that you work day to day with. And less process oriented development. Again, this is very pro Netflix. Netflix is very anti heavy processes. We believe in freedom and responsibility and autonomy that is given to employees. Netflix doesn't impose hard processes around things which stand in the way of employees work excellence. So we tell them, we give them the right information and let the employees take the right decision for themselves and their work. Continuous development and iteration, because uh, since we directly interact with our stakeholders and consumers, we know what are their pain points. We quickly take those feedbacks, quickly fix those and apply, and deployment happens. There is no like specific deployment cycle, so our deployments happen any day, anytime. We avoid Fridays, of course, but any day of the week, any time of the day. Data is extremely important. We take thousands of data metrics per project. Again, Netflix is very pro collecting data and analytics. We derive meaning from that data. We understand what other areas we can go and fix, and that in turn becomes our other project. So we collect data very heavily, we derive a lot of meaning from that data, and then we use that data to go work on our projects and address some of the pain points that we find out through these analytics. Again, as I talked about autonomy for employees, there's a lot of developer autonomy as well. We have a slogan called "You build, you run" at Netflix, and what that means is you own your project end to end. As a developer, you focus on like architecting the project, implementing the project, delivering the project, writing tests for it, deploying the project. There are no central QA team or central DevOps team. So you do everything end to end. And there is a lot of decision making authority per developer, which means that when you're working on a new project, you have the whole autonomy to decide which tech stack would be better for this specific project, and based on also your and your team skill set. You have a lot of decision making authority over that. You choose your own code, you test your own code and functionality. So again, like, there is no QA, or there is no specific QA team that takes your project and write the automation code for it. You do that all by yourself. There is no separate DevOps team that would take your project and deploy it somewhere on the cloud that you're not aware of. But as a developer, you would own that entire deployment strategy space as well. You decide how many servers, you decide what load balancers or what kind of deployment strategy you want, which region, which areas you want to deploy. Everything is all in the hands of developer themselves. So all in all, we don't have stringent processes and approvals that you have to go through. There's no authority that is sitting somewhere where you have to go and get approvals on your tech stack, get approvals on your deployment. No, there's nothing like that. It's all in the hand of developer themselves. And that is why it gives us so much space to just quickly iterate, do experiments, decide what is really good for the company, and deliver so quickly. Lessons learned as an internal tools engineer. Now, Having said all of that before, how Netflix builds software and why internal tooling space is important, what are some of the lessons that I would feel every internal engineer learns while in the process is there's a lot of pressure through which you have to work. So our since our timelines are so short, our stakeholders are all internal, so we are interacting with those stakeholders every single day. uh, our feedbacks are very instantaneous, so you build something, you get the feedback very quickly, so there's a lot of pressure to deliver the work. uh, Again, you need to have exceptional communication skills as an internal tools engineer, more than an engineer who works on external projects, because right now you're dealing with stakeholders who are direct, who you interact directly with. You know your consumers. You communicate within your team, outside of your team. uh, there are certain times where you are communicating with the leadership as well, so there's a lot of communication that goes on. As an internal tools engineer, you're not only just writing code and sitting down, but there's a lot of other hats that you have to wear. Ability to work without stringent processes. Again, a lot of people don't appreciate working under stringent processes, and a lot of people also don't perform quite well without processes, because people are primed in a way where they need to know what are the next steps that they need to take. When there are no strict processes around, it's a lot harder to decide whether I'm taking the right decisions and whether I'm doing the right thing or not. So it's a muscle that you have to build, but it's a great thing to have around, and it's a blessing in disguise where you don't have stringent processes and you're delivering without strictness around. Ability to lead, because you own your own workspace. There's a lot of ownership that you have to take as an internal tools engineer. You are working on multiple different projects, you own your own projects end to end, so a lot of leadership skills goes into that. Efficient context switching and time management. Again, context switching can be perceived as anti-productive, but as an internal tools engineer, since your teams are so slim, you own multiple projects at the same time, so efficient context switching is very important. And it is not anti-productive in the sense, because you're context switching with proper time management. You're not dealing with multiple projects one time, at a single time, right? You're splitting your time within those projects, and that is how you efficiently context switch. So context switching and time management skills are also crucial. Some of the rewards that I can talk about as internal tools engineer is you see your work directly impact people lives, right? People's workflows are improved so much that you see that they are able to perform at a level where they are directly impacting and directly making contribution towards company's goals. uh, that is a lot of satisfaction in seeing that. You see that employees satisfaction and employee experience is improved so much that it in turn leads to improved retention in employees for the company. A lot of employee frustration leads to people leaving the companies, and lack of that experience can be detrimental to the company, because now companies constantly dealing with people leaving and hiring. So again, you can think about improving the experience in a way so that company doesn't have to waste so much of time just going after people and hiring them, right? You're retaining your top talent. Opportunity to work on multiple domains, because as internal tools engineer, there are so many different problems that you will be solving. You are interacting with different organizations within the company. So for example, you're working on aviation, you're working on recruiting, you're working on IT operation tools, and this gives you a lot of exposure essentially. And I would say, as external engineer who work on one problem at a time or working on one single tool, since you're working on so many different domains, it basically gives you a feeling that you're working at five different companies at the same time, or you have experience of working at five different companies. A lot of exposure to other people, because you're talking to stakeholders, consumers, you're talking to your own team, cross functional teams, you're talking to leadership sometimes, so that gives a lot of visibility outside of your team itself. And all in all, it gives you a lot of it helps you develop your leadership skills in a way that you not only own your projects, but you're also talking to so many people, you're wearing so many different hats. uh, you're not only just writing code, but you're doing so many other things as well. So that helps a lot with leadership development, and I think that that is the, in entirety, working as an internal tools engineer is very, very rewarding. So in the end, I want to lay out an important thought over here, which is internal tools is very crucial to a company's success. It brings harmony in how the company performs. It helps save thousands of productive hours per employee, so that employees can focus on working on the main key objectives of a company, and bringing innovation and excellence to their workflows. So they are not wasting those hours in dealing with inefficiencies and frustration that becomes a byproduct of all of that. But it helps improve the overall experience of employees and helps the company achieve a level where they can delight their consumers like Netflix does. So all in all, the secret of our success is internal tools team, or an internal applications team. We are the superheroes who work behind the scenes to success of Netflix. And thank you. That's a wrap.